Hi, everyone. My name is Shadisha Bennett Brody, and I'm a licensed mental health counselor here at Flagler College. Today, we're going to be talking about coping with grief and loss. Admittedly, discussing grief and loss can be difficult, both for the person grieving and those who love them. But talking openly about grief can be a path to healing. Grief is a natural emotional response resulting from a significant loss, especially the death of a loved one. Loss and grief doesn't have to be from a person dying, however. It could be many things like loss of a cherished pet, a change in health status, end of a relationship, or loss of safety after a traumatic event. Grief is a process, which means that it's ongoing as opposed to a one-time reaction. Reconciling your grief will not happen quickly, but healing is possible. Why does grief affect us differently? Well, it depends on the relationship that we have to the loss. You can imagine that the loss of a family member, a pet, or coworker might feel different than an acquaintance or celebrity. Circumstances or how the loss occurred can also strongly affect our grief. Unexpected death as a result of violence may feel different than from a suicide or sudden loss of a relationship. Although everyone grieves differently, there seems to be differences in grief reactions between men and women. The gender differences are guidelines, by the way, and not how every single person grieves across gender. Women are more socialized to talk about loss and to seek social support, while men are more likely to take on a fix-it role. They intellectualize their emotions and experience more denial. The emotions men do express are that they feel more anger, fear, and loss of control. Most of us have heard about the 5 stages of grief created by psychiatrist Dr. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. She observed these stages in people in hospice who were dying, and then they were later applied to people experiencing grief. We don't move through the stages in a linear way. We can re-experience the same stages or even get stuck in a specific stage. Denial is usually the first reaction to loss. However, denying our grief will only make it more confusing and overwhelming. When reality hits, people may become angry at the circumstances, feel irritable, and even look for someone to blame. With bargaining, we're trying to change the outcome or make the loss different or less traumatic. Depression is a common side of grief, which includes sadness, low energy, feeling demotivated, even losing your faith in God. People describe it as the lowest point in life with no way out. We might see signs of indifference, reclusiveness, pushing others away, and zero excitement. Depression can make it really difficult to be emotionally present when around other people, and people who are grieving are easily overwhelmed by other people's emotions. Acceptance is a realization that fighting the change isn't going to make the grief go away. Acceptance may not be a happy space, but it is one in which the person may stop resisting change and move ahead with it. Individual and cultural differences can influence what healing looks like. We can encourage healing from grief by noticing our emotions, allowing ourselves to feel, even though it's painful. Having said that, allow yourself to dose your grief. Do not force yourself to think about and respond to the death or loss every moment of every day. Yes, it's important to mourn if you are to heal, but you must also live. Seek support from friends or families. It can be incredibly helpful to talk about your feelings and the loss. You may need support from your doctor because you may have physical symptoms of grief, such as body aches and pains, recurring headaches, and loss of appetite. The depth of our emotions can leave us physically exhausted, so getting rest is important. Trying to get enough sleep and exercise and eat well most of the time. This may be the last thing that you want to do, but it's still necessary. In fact, we need it even more than ever when processing grief and loss. Self-care may also include seeking therapy and possibly an antidepressant. Having said that, not everyone who is grieving needs therapy. It's your decision to make. Engage in rituals that bring you comfort. If you're a religious person, that can also be a source of comfort. If you have a religious tradition but you can't connect to it right now, that's okay too. You might find yourself searching for meaning and asking questions like, why do bad things happen? It's okay if you don't find definitive answers. What's more important is that you allow yourself the opportunity to think and feel things through. Although there isn't a perfect way to cope with grief, there are things that we can do that could get in the way of healing. Avoid excessive use of drugs and alcohol for self-medication. Substances tend to numb emotions and prolongs healing from grief. Try not to make major changes when initially grieving, such as quitting a job or ending a relationship. Your ability to think clearly and make decisions may be impaired. Be careful of using things like work, other people, or being busy to avoid feeling your emotions. You won't heal unless you allow yourself to openly express your grief, whatever that looks like for you. Isolating and disconnecting from others may seem attractive, but too much isolation can make your mental health worse. Thank you for taking this journey with me today. I'd like to leave you with this quote. It's only when we truly know and understand that we have limited time on earth and that we have no way of knowing when our time is up, we will then begin to live each day to the fullest as if it was the only one we have.